Now moving on to my top 5 speaking don'ts. So my first speaking don't would be, don't be afraid to arrive early and introduce yourself to your audience as they arrive. This helps loosen you up and also helps you feel out your audience. So I like to greet people. I like to get to know some of their interests. Like I said earlier, be ready to tailor your points accordingly, but it's always good to arrive early too, because then you seem like you really want to be there. You seem very eager to share the message you have, and you get to shake hands with people, and it loosens you up, it loosens them up, it helps with the flow of conversation during the question portion of your presentation. So I do encourage you to arrive early and greet those who arrive as well that are going to be in the audience. Speaking don't number 2 is don't wing it. Definitely come prepared. Practice what you're going to say. For me personally, I practice what I'm going to say, and I've spoken a lot, and generally it follows the same format, but I still practice every time before I go speak. And I do this honestly in my car on the way to work, and I look like a crazy person to other people, but it's a time where I don't have distractions, anything distracting me at home, and I'm not necessarily looking at myself in the mirror distracting myself with what I'm doing with my hands or anything like that. It's for me to focus on really what I'm going to say. And so I do practice that way on the way to work, and then also on the way to the location to speak. It just really reassures me that I know what I'm going to talk about, I know the points I'm trying to make, and it just helps ease my nerves, really. So do practice. Also, I do suggest having a speaking outline. I have the same speaking outline with my major points I always like to hit, and then I'll put different facts or different numbers that I want to tailor my speaking points to, but it does help me when I'm up there because it keeps me on track and it lets me know exactly what I've covered and exactly what I haven't covered and what I'd like to. So be prepared in all aspects, and you can never be too over-prepared. So just take that one home with you. My speaking don't number 3 is don't forget to tell them how they can help and be specific about it. Now, because you're a nonprofit, they're going to already assume that you need their support in one way, shape, or form. So that may be with volunteering, that may be funding. They're going to assume you need some sort of help. Be specific about your call to action. If you need funding for a new freezer and you're missing X amount of dollars to get that freezer, tell them we need funding for this freezer to help us further our mission, and we need this amount more to reach that goal. That gives them something tangible to hang on to, and if they do decide to provide that funding to you, they know exactly where it's going and they feel like they're really contributing. If you need volunteering, if you need it we need more volunteers for a senior box drop, whatever it may be specific. Say we need volunteers on this day and this day for our senior box distribution, and we need it from this hour to this hour. Be very specific. They're going to take that back with them because they already know you need help, but they need to know when, where, with what, that sort of thing. So do be specific about your call to action. Speaking don't number 4 is if at all possible. Now this is me personally, so you may feel differently about it, and that's fine, but for me personally, don't answer questions during your presentation. I always like to start off and say I'll answer questions at the end. Please hold your questions until the end, and I will answer questions at the end. But I find if I start answering questions, like if I'm explaining a program and someone raises their hand about a question, that will often sidetrack me, or what's going to end up happening is that'll spur other people's thoughts and questions, and then before you know it, you spent your entire time that you have to present answering questions and not really getting through your points. So if at all possible, don't answer questions during your presentation. Tell them that, hey, there's definitely time for questions, but it'll be at the end. And last but not least, my speaking don't number 5 is don't forget to bring your contact information and follow up. So whether that's a brochure with your contact information, whether that's a business card type of thing with your information, don't forget to have those on hand. And also don't forget to follow up. I like to follow up a lot with a handwritten thank you note. I feel like those are going out of style nowadays, but those people really still do appreciate a handwritten thank you note, and it's another touch point for you. So it's another thing to put you on their radar, just saying, hey, thank you so much for having me. I do appreciate your time. In those thank you notes, I will include my card, again, just so they have contact information should they have any questions or want to do something to help us in the future. So don't forget those very important things. And that's all I have for you. So I hope that was helpful. And if you have any questions, feel free to call my direct line, email me. Tim and Jonathan, they have my business cards. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me. And once again, my name is Callie LaPrade, and I'd be happy to help in any way that I can.